Look, good work this week. We're excited about the opportunity to play the Carolina Panthers, again, a divisional opponent. This is a game that we need to go out and play well, and our team needs to win. So we're excited to get back out there in front of the home crowd.
DA, is there anything you can update us on with Jared's status?
No, really. Look, he's got to go through the full process. I think he's made progress, but he's got to go through the full progress. Obviously the injury report will come out later.
Did Kendre Miller suffer a setback with his ankle injury?
No, he's going through the recovery process. Was making significant, strides in his rehab. I think it's kind of stalled just a little bit, but there's been no setback.
DA, Jabari Greer going into the Hall of Fame today. You were a big part of his career. Can you just speak to his induction today?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Well deserved. Jabari's a guy that played really, really well for us. A guy really, honestly, that we were trying to sign, Ron Bartell at the time, and that kind of took a little bit longer than we were wanting, and we moved on to the next option, which was Jabari. Just a great person, great player, made a lot of plays for us, but just an unbelievable human being. He was great for our locker room and great for our team. It's awesome for him.
What's just the preparation like when you got a couple receivers down, Chris not able to practice? Like how does that kind of affect you?
Yeah, look, some other guys have to step up and practice and execute, and then they'll have to be ready to go if Chris isn't able to go. I would anticipate, hopefully, that he'll be able to go. But if he's not, then some other guys are going to have to step up. So, but I thought our guys, handled it well this week.
We kind of asked Joe about this yesterday, but with Zach Bond seems to have a little bit more of an uptick in pass rush here recently. How much have you seen from him in that area that you liked?
Yeah, look, I think that's that's something that he did in college, and it's we've kind of looked at maybe getting a little bit more athleticism on the field, as a rusher, which I think he provides. So he had a hell of a rush, last week, and so we'll see how this game plays out and see if he gets any more opportunities.
And he's the guy that you mostly envision as a stand-up rusher, I imagine, off the edge, or is there the opportunity for him?
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on the offense. Will kind of dictate a little bit of that as to, how he plays. But yeah, that's traditionally been what he's done.
And then just not too long ago, I'd asked about Lynn Bowden being a guy that maybe you could see in a Taysom Hill-like role at some point. Is that something that maybe y'all are looking at maybe having to do?
Yeah, look, Lynn will have a role, in the game. Exactly what that role will be, we'll let the game unfold and see what that role is. But he's certainly a guy that's earned these opportunities, so he'll have a role in the game.
What did you guys like about Monty Rice and PJ Mustipher bringing them in?
Yeah, so Monty's a guy that played. He's played at Georgia. Was a really good player at Georgia. I think there's some athleticism there. I think there's some strike ability. He's tough. He's physical. He's smart. So we like the player. We like the prospect. Thought it was good to get him in our building. So we were able to do that. And then Mustipher is a big body, inside. And so obviously with Roach going down, we need to look at some other options that could potentially help us in that role.
Yeah, Chris obviously had that little patch of adversity there, Olave. How did you see him just kind of, work through it? It seemed like he's kind of emerged a little bit.
Yeah, look, I think he's played really well. There was a lot of talk about him kind of earlier in the season, and he went through a rough patch. But he fought through the adversity. He knew that, stick to the process, keep coming out here every day, going to work. And that's really what he did. And as the season goes on, he's gotten more and more opportunities, and I think he's taking advantage of those opportunities. So really proud of, what what he's been able to do and fight through that, because it's not easy. But I think he's done a nice job of that.
With Olave being sick enough to miss practice, like, is it a situation where he's had to stay at home, and kind of how do y'all handle that in terms of preparation for the game and meetings and stuff like that?
Yeah, look, I mean, he's involved. He's been at home, because we don't want that kind of going through the rest of the roster. He's got the flu, all right. So he's on medication. He'll be back in here this afternoon with the doctors. When you get a situation like that, you try to keep those guys away from the rest of the team as much as you can, so you don't have that running through the team. So, but he's been involved with the game plan, and if he's healthy enough to play and feels well enough to play, he'll be out there on Sunday.
I can imagine you don't want to repeat it.
We've already had one go through the roster. We don't want that same thing happening again.
Dennis, obviously,
Literally go through the roster.
obviously the doctors have to make the determination on Derek Carr, but how do you decide, like early on, it felt like with 2 concussions, maybe he'd be a long shot to play, but he's obviously getting a lot of snaps in practice, and you don't know how many to give him.
Yeah, well, so when you go through, the concussion protocol, there's some steps that have to happen, and there's some early conversation, with the doctors in terms of, like we had Chris Olave last year that had the concussion, and we kind of knew pretty early in the week that it was going to be hard for him to, to clear because of the severity of the concussion, it was going to be hard for him to clear. We didn't get that sense from, Derek, or from the doctors with Derek. And so, we kind of had to manage the week a little bit, not 100% knowing. And so both of those guys, have gotten opportunities and gotten reps. And both of those guys will be prepared to play if their number's called. So that's kind of the way we handled it.
Did you guys find out anything more about Taysom Hill's hand injury and kind of what's been going on there?
I don't want to go into the details in terms of, what it is. I don't think that's really, the limiting factor. The limiting factor with him has been more the foot.
And so, what do you think's been behind kind of the uptick in y'all's rushing numbers lately?
Well, look, I mean, to be able to run the football effectively, you got to create movement on the line of scrimmage. You got to block them, and I think we've done a better job of doing that, over the last few weeks. I think Alvin's run the ball, extremely well. I think he's run the ball physically. He's been explosive as a runner. And then certainly Taysom's been a big factor in, our ability to run the ball better. So I think it's about, execution. I think we've done a better job of that.
And I know it's practice squad, but Shaq Davis coming back, like when a young player like that has missed a significant stretch of the season, are you able to still get any evaluation on him when he's not out there on the practice field? Like, you learn anything?
Yeah, look, I mean, he's been involved in everything that we've been doing. He just hasn't been able to go out to practice. So he's been involved in, the meetings. He's been when we've gone through the installs. He's in there. He's learning. He's obviously not getting the reps, which, is a big part of the growth of a young player. And so I think it's important, for him to be able to get back out here, start taking some reps, and really actually be able to physically go through the things that we're going to be asking him to do. Now, obviously, a majority of that's happening, on the look squad, but we're excited about having him back out here. I think he's a good prospect.
With Foskey, did he re-aggravate the quad
Yes.
injury in the game?
Yeah.
Dennis, the booing the other day, I know we've talked about it, but I'm kind of curious, did you feel the need at all to talk to Derek at all about it? Is that something that comes with the territory? You just ignore it and move on?
Yeah, look, I mean, you control the things that you control, and really, I guess to a certain extent, we control that by, the way that we play. Obviously, I think it was, unfortunate because I think Derek's, probably played better than maybe what some on the outside might think. So it's part of this business. He plays a high-profile position. Obviously, there's a lot that's expected out of that player, and that's kind of part of what goes along with it. You know, I had a nice conversation with Derek after the game, and he's a tough guy. So, you know, he'll battle through whatever adversity that anybody wants to throw at him. All right, guys, thanks.
Mike, JD?